there, and welcome to week 12 of our semester. Before we get going on week 12, I just want to take a look back at week 11 and comment on a few things. I met with a few more of you to talk about your essay number 2, conferences and essays, and now we definitely are moving into essay number 3, and I'll be meeting with some of you this week for that purpose. But I wanted to just comment on topic proposals for essay number 3 were due last week, and you should have heard back from me. If you have not submitted your proposal, please do so as soon as possible. Even if you don't get credit for the topic proposal, you need to have a proposal that is approved before you'll be added to response groups or be able to get credit for your conferences. So it's important that your proposal is approved, not just submitted. So please do make sure you've checked your email, and if I've requested more information or some more explanation, you need to get back to me until you actually get a statement that says that your topic is approved. We had analytical responses last week, and you are continuing to read about and provide resources on the American Dream, and that's continuing through this week as well. Also last week you should have signed up for an essay number 3 conference. If you missed that opportunity, please send me an email as soon as you can to try to establish a meeting. You do need to complete these conferences, but if you miss the deadline, I can try to see what open spaces I have in my schedule to get you in so that you can fulfill that requirement. I also wanted to comment, last week I mentioned the grades are updated. I sent you an email and asked you to check out your grades, and so please make sure that if you haven't done so, that you do check that out in detail and make sure that you're making progress toward being eligible to submit your portfolio. Students all need to have a 70% or better before portfolio submission in order to be eligible to submit their portfolio. So it's important that you keep an eye on your overall grade, which is at the very bottom of the entire grading report. It will have a course summary, and that has to be a 70 or better in order for you to submit your portfolio. There were some questions that I did receive about research collection and curation, and a few folks for Unit 2 missed the curation component. I mentioned it in a video, and it is described in your research collection and curation overview. And so, but please, I have made a note on it for the activities for the 3rd unit to draw better attention to it. And I'll go back and revise that in Unit 2 to make that clear for future classes too. But some of you did overlook it. So it's a few points for curation, 5 points in that. And so it's not going to have a huge impact, or maybe none if you do all the rest of the work in that section on your grade. But please make sure that you review the overview for the research collection and curation so that you can make sure you get the curation part done this time. And there's a little video even in there that describes the curation that's required. And you can see examples of the curation that people did on the collections last time around. But please be making sure that you're doing both collecting and reading each other's resources and commenting on them or furthering the information there, which is what curation is all about. This week I'll be meeting for essay number 3 conferences as well as next week, so please keep track of your schedule and make sure that you show up to your appointment with your progress note and essay copies. You should have 2 copies of each, one for me and one for you, so that we can use our time effectively. If you meet with me in week 12, I understand that you'll likely have your outline and your beginning of things. If you meet in week 13, I'll expect that you'll have your essay draft ready to go with that. This week, the Writers Toolbox is an activity, so you'll be posting an initial response with people, and then you will be providing feedback and follow-up. What's happening this week, because we're having another analytical response this week, you're actually going to be having the option of participating in a response group. Okay, so that's an optional activity. You'll get credit for it. You'll get feedback for it if you do it. If you don't do it, you won't be penalized. Okay, but because of that, and this is why I'm explaining this before I explain the response group, I do want you to be able to get some basic feedback from your group members and for people in the class about your topic and your idea, you'll have already received feedback from me on your topic. So this should be a development. This shouldn't just be a reposting of your topic proposal. This should be something new that you're sharing to get some new input from your group members. And what you're going to be doing in this toolbox is you're going to be sharing an overview of your topic and your essay plans and explain sort of the major points that you're going to be talking about. You might ask the group questions that will help you to define your subject better. You're sort of making a pitch to this group. You've already gained approval from me. I've offered you some suggestions for revising it. So sort of rethink what your approach is going to be to this essay. You'll need to post at least 300 words and into your group. And then by Thursday, you need to come back and read members of your group. And these might not be people who end up in your smaller response group in the future. You'll have an opportunity to pick and choose here and see what different people's topics are. Please spread out your responses. Make sure if somebody already has 3 or 4 people who've responded to them, please try to respond to somebody else so everybody gets some good feedback here to help them with moving forward on their essay. And there's some questions specifically that you should address in providing feedback to those group members. This does not have a specific word count for feedback to your 4 people, but I do expect that you do all 3 types of things there's 3 bullets here, and I expect you to address them all sufficiently in each case. So it's not just 3 sentences. I mean, please make an effort to provide the group members with helpful information that will be valuable to them. Okay, so that's related to essay number 3. We're sort of using the Writers Toolboxes from this point on to help us really get your writing moving forward in the future. As I mentioned, there's Analytical Response 7 this week. And this is actually a little bit different. You've done 6 analytical responses during the course of the semester, 2 on each of our units of study. And this is giving you the opportunity to go back and to revise one of those and develop a new analytical response. And what that means, and I've given you a whole list of suggestions here of what that might look like. It might be, essentially you're turning this a little bit more into an essay where you're going to integrate things together a little bit more. You'll include an introduction and a conclusion. You might integrate some new sources. You might develop your ideas further. You could even incorporate some of the ideas that people used in responding to things. You might focus on a specific audience, okay? But you need to re-see that response. And sometimes you might even combine 2 responses. Maybe you had 2 responses to the American Dream that you think really go together well. Well, they're not just going to be copied and pasted as 2 responses, but how would you integrate them into a common response or your food and society ideas? So you're going to be creating an analytical response that is a revision and a re-seeing, and it will be longer. You need to have at least 800 words, but 200 more than your original. So I'd really encourage you to look a little bit further into this, into maybe 1,000, 1,200 words, because one of the ideas is that this piece could be potentially something that might make it into your portfolio. This might be particularly helpful for someone who has 2 pretty solid essays. Maybe you really love essay number 1 and 3 in what you're working on so far. And of course, you're still in the process of doing 3, so it's hard to say. But at the end of the semester, when you're making decisions for portfolio, maybe you have 2 essays that you really like and the other one just didn't work for you. So this might give you the opportunity to include an analytical response that really is sort of a mini essay. Okay, and that can help you meet the page requirement without having to include that weaker essay that you actually have. Okay, so you're going to be sharing that analytical response within this. And so you'll share with your group and then you'll provide feedback. Okay, and this one, because it is going to be something that people might include in their portfolio, you're going to talk about some of the things that you thought were particularly effective, and then give a suggestion for how to improve. Okay, so the focus, the development, or the organization of this piece. That way it will help people think about revising in the future. Okay, so that's analytical response number 7, which is your last analytical response, and it's a revision of one rather than a new one. Okay. Because you are doing an analytical response this week, usually we've been sort of alternating 2 weeks analytical response, 2 weeks response group, 2 weeks analytical response. There is a response group this week, but it is optional. This is the outline and draft response group, where you have a preliminary outline or draft. It's a choice for you to post whether or not you do. If you do post, and this is an important thing, if you look here, it explains how this works. Everybody's going to post to a common link. I'm not assigning groups because I don't know who or how many people from different teams or will be posting, but everybody will post to the same link. And once you do, you're going to see and you're going to give feedback to the 3 people who post after you. Okay, so if 7 people post and you're number 2, you're going to give feedback to the students number 3, 4, and 5 who posted. Okay, if you're the last student to post, then you're going to go up and respond to the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. If you're the 6th student to post, you would do number 7, and then go back up to the top of the list and do 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so it's sort of going to, you have to pay attention and make sure that you look at the original outlines that were posted, outlines and drafts that were posted, so you don't get confused by people's comments. This does work the best if folks do wait to make comments after everybody has posted on Thursday. Okay, so if you start commenting, please wait till Friday to do so that people will not be confused by how that works. If you have questions and you're not sure who you're supposed to give feedback to, let me know, and I'll try to help you figure it out. But this is optional. The thing is, if you post to this response group and do not give feedback to other people, you will be negatively impacted because you will get a score of no credit. Okay, if you post and then don't give feedback, if you don't post, the grade will just remain empty and it won't be factored into your score average. What that means is that if you do participate in this, that you can improve your grade because you'll get another positive score. Okay, if you don't participate, it's neutral. There'll be no impact on your score. If you do post your essay or your outline and you don't give feedback, it will negatively affect your score because you will not get credit for this, and that will be factored into your grade as well. The final thing, of course, is your research collection and curation. Please make sure that you are continuing with that. We're sort of getting close to the end of this whole process. Beginning next week, you'll see we're actually moving into portfolio review, and you're going to actually not have reading from They Say, I Say after this week, after week 12, week 13, 14, 15. It's all going to be about revising, making selections, doing work to prepare you for your portfolio. Next week you will have to wrap things up with essay number 3 by sharing your draft, completed draft that time. Especially if you choose not to do the outline response group this week, it's important that you know that you have to make progress this week so that in week 13 you can share your full draft with your group. And you will also be wrapping up next week the self-assessment of the American Dream Research Collection, which means that this week, week 12, is your last week to add resources and curation notes to the collections. Okay, so get caught up on that. Make sure you've got your collection and your curation done to make it all happen. Well, it's a little bit longer than usual video. Thanks for sticking through it with me to the end. And if you have questions at any time, please be sure to let me know. Take care and have a great week.